What is up, Renaissance crew? I'm the original Renaissance man, Devon DaVinci, and you're watching DaVinci Reacts. I was actually going to go ahead and end my videos today at just 4 videos, but I had a notification. Somebody left a comment on one of my videos, and that video was Dave Allen. And I remembered that I was going to react to a Dave Allen video a long time ago. But for some reason, every time I record, I get into the requests and I forget about the videos that I pushed off for a later date. So this time, while I still had everything set up, I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and take care of another David Allen video, especially considering the fact that my subscribers really love watching his content, and, you know, give it another shot. I mean, I love the first one, and I haven't had a chance to watch any of them since then. So let's go ahead and watch this. This is Dave Allen religious jokes. You guys know the last Dave Allen video I did was also related to religion. This video looks like it was recorded before the last one that I did. This looks like it was probably late 60s. Let's go ahead and get into this and see what it has to say.
Meet a fellow walking into a bar, and standing outside is a nun. And she looks at him and she says, "Before you enter this den of iniquity, think of your mother and your father." He said, "They're dead." "They're dead in heaven." She said, "Well, think of the damage the alcohol is going to do to your brain." "Huh? What are you talking about? Have you ever had a drink?" And the nun says, "No." He said, "Well, how the hell can you stand there talking about it and saying drink is going to do damage to your brain if you've never had it? I'll tell you what, I'll go in, get you a drink, bring it out, give it to you, you drink it. If you don't like it, then you can talk about it. But don't talk about things you've never experienced. What'll you have?" And the nun says, "I don't know." "What do ladies generally drink?" He says, "Gin." She says, "All right, I'll have a gin. But get it in a cup so nobody will notice." The fellow goes into the bar and he says, "Give us a pint of beer and a double gin in a cup." And the fellow says, "Is that bloody nun out there again?" The Pope, discussing the existence of God with an out-and-out atheist, starts off very correctly discussion. And as the hours go by, it gets more and more heated, and eventually the Pope turns to the man and he said, "The mom! Get the mom! And you, come here. You are like a man who is totally blindfolded in a dark room looking for a black cat that is not there." The fellow said, "With all respect, Your Holiness, I think there's great similarity between us both." He said, "What do you mean, similarity?" He said, "Well, as far as I'm concerned, you are like a man who is blindfolded in a totally dark room looking for a black cat that isn't there. The only difference is that you found it."
I get it.
Get a nun. Gets up in the morning and leaves.
I never thought about
walks down
pointing
the
at
corridor.
somebody like this. This
The
seems,
nun
this seems
looks at her and
intense.
says, "It's a difficult thing to say. I'm not a nun."
I'm going to go back a little bit. I kind of missed the first part.
And the nun looks at her and says, "It's a difficult thing to say. I'm not a nun." And says, "You got out of the wrong side of the bed this morning." And she goes on down, and another nun says, "You got out of the wrong side of the bed this morning." And this happens 15 times, and by then she's livid. And she meets the Mother Superior. And the Mother Superior is just about to open her mouth, and the sister says, "Don't tell me that I got out of the wrong side of the bed this morning!" And the Mother Superior said, "I wasn't going to say that. I was just going to say, what are you doing with the bishop's shoes on?"
Got out of the wrong bed this morning.
I am what you would...
I think that if priests and stuff were able to go to church without pants on, that would make their jobs feel, that would make them amazing, or that would make them feel amazing while they're on the job.
I am what you might call a practicing atheist. I'm quite happy to be an atheist because I think actually God likes atheists better. We never ask him for anything. We're not bothering him all the time saying, oh God, please help me, I want this thing. And as a practicing atheist, there's certain things that I travel around the world, and no matter where I go, somebody called Gideon leaves me this book to read. It's an Irish book because it says it all began at the beginning. There are certain things that, when I read the Bible, and I do read the Bible, that I find difficult to understand. I mean, if God has been there forever, what was he doing before he got to us? I mean, what was he out there doing? Was he sitting there going, bored today, what'll I do? I mean, suddenly from nowhere, he suddenly decided to create a world. I'll make a world, that's what. Make a world, yes, that's what I'll do. Rivers, seas, boom, mountains. Boom, everything is there. I want a garden. I'd like a nice garden. Whack! Garden bee. Hate gardening. Need a garden. Ah, garden, spit and dust. Adam. Hey! And he, Adam, never once says, where in the name of God did I come from? I mean, he's 40 years of age. He has no child, and he has no recall. He doesn't say, how did I get here? But he's quite happy. He just kind of trundles around the garden, working away. And God is looking at him. And he sees that Adam is happy.
I know where he's going. Oh, shit.
I didn't put him there to be happy. I'll put a stop to that. And God, during the night, sneaks down like a thief and steals. Doesn't ask, doesn't request, steals it. His rib.
Why did he need a rib, though?
And from his rib,
more
he makes
clay.
woman. And Adam wakes up in the morning, he's a real thickie. He's lying there, and there's somebody else, he doesn't say, where did you come from? How the hell did you get here? Where did you get those lumps? Just goes out and goes gardening. And God comes down and has a conversation with Eve and tells her that she can eat of any fruit in the tree in the whole garden with the exception of one fruit tree. He's talking to a woman. He actually tells her not to eat of the fruit. And then when she said, which tree can't I eat? He said, that one over there. He points it out to her. And when he goes and hides, and she sneaks up to the tree, and a snake comes down and has a conversation. A snake. Now, if I see a snake, I'll back off. One starts talking, I'll crap myself. And the snake actually convinces her to eat the apple, and she eats the apple. And when she eats the apple, she learns shame. That's what happens when you eat apples. Now, she's not ashamed that she's disobeyed God or that she's eaten the apple. She's ashamed of one part of her body. That's all. She becomes ashamed of that area of the body. Now, why that area? Why not her elbow? Her nose. Do you actually realize that if Eve had been ashamed of her nose, every woman in the world now would be ashamed of your noses? You'd all be sitting here tonight with little nose knickers on. Men would be in nightclubs watching totally naked ladies with G-strings on their nose. Take them off. Oh, I saw a nose. And this is the book. This is the book that you'll go into court and place your hand upon. And swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. The first funeral I ever went to, and believe me, this is true.
You know what's funny? And this is kind of unrelated to anything. if he cut his hair shorter, it looks like he could play a iteration of James Bond. To me, it just has that look. Especially like back in the 60s and stuff. If he cut his hair shorter, it looks like he could have been right in that line of early Bond characters like Sean Connery and Lazenby and all the other ones.
6 years of age. And as they lowered the box into the ground, the priest said, "In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost." And I, for years, used to bless myself and say, "In the name of the Father and the Son and into the Holy Ghost."
Yeah, I'm
One final custom that we have in Ireland regarding death and a funeral is that only one person who is buried in a graveyard can go to heaven. Which basically means if two people are buried in the same graveyard on the same day, the last one in has got to wait till tomorrow. So can you imagine what would happen if one funeral met another funeral going to the same graveyard?
This seems like a mission you would see on Grand Theft Auto. The only thing missing is the hysterical family members. I know in a black family, if something like that would have happened, the damn wife would have passed out. Oh shit, downhill. He has the high ground now. It's their advantage. If I was somebody that hopped on the casket and just rode it to the graveyard. Yeah, see, just buried in the yard, in an open field somewhere. That's a tiny car. That car is tiny. Damn. That looks like the car Steve Urkel used to, oh, y'all remember that? The one with the door on the back. He didn't stop off at a pub. Well, the cast was like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the funeral. Over here. Just jump the fence. Oh wow. Damn.
Little fella dies and goes to heaven, and some people say, would you like to have a look around heaven? And the fella, yeah, I would actually. So they're looking around heaven, and he said, who are those people over there? He said, oh, they are the Muslims. They are Muslims there, and over there we have the Jewish people, and these are Anglicans and Hindus, Baptists. He said, why do you have this big wall here? He said, behind the wall, you see, we have the Catholics. He said, why do you have the Catholics behind the wall? He said, shh. They like to think that they're the only ones here.
Yeah, that was good. Yep, I just got done watching a damn religious video, and I said that I was tapped out on religious talk. But apparently not, because I'm about to get into this, okay? Now, the argument of Adam and Eve. Now, that's an interesting one, because I was actually having a discussion about this with my parents not too long ago. And, I mean, I'm lucky enough to not have parents that, like, are the types that would disown you for having a different belief. But sometimes it does have some interesting conversations. The only thing my parents, I'd say, would be guilty of is that after the discussion, they're one of those types that, like, if you talk and, like, you put them in kind of like a corner when it comes to the argument, they kind of go, oh, well, you know what? Well, let's just stop talking about it. Like, I don't want to hear anymore. Like, that's pretty much what they tend to do. But we're having a discussion about Adam and Eve, and I was just saying how I mentioned in an earlier video, I forgot which one it was, but I mentioned in an earlier video how much God is a failure. And I say that not because, like, oh, well, he didn't know this was going to happen, but for somebody that's supposedly all-knowing and know the answers to everything that's going to happen, know all the outcomes, know all of the chances of stuff happening, things like that, you know. The fact that he knows, like, when it comes to Adam and Eve, the story is God creates Adam, God creates Eve, Eve eats from the fruit of, or Eve eats from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, or tree of knowledge. I'm not sure exactly the true definition of what the tree is. Either way, she wasn't supposed to eat from the tree. And God is surprised by this. Right? Not only do you plant the tree there, because Adam at no point ever planted a tree, and even if he did, you would know about it. So Adam plants this tree. God knows that, or not Adam, God plants this tree. God knows he doesn't want humans to eat from this tree, but he puts it within reach of humans. All right. It makes no sense if this is somebody that doesn't want you to eat from that tree. Like, it's like taking a loaded gun and putting it on the table, a low table, for a toddler to reach it. And you tell a toddler, okay, whatever you do, don't touch this gun. And then you point out where the gun is. Oh, the gun's right here. Don't ever touch it. And you know in your head that they're going to touch it. And I don't mean like you know, like you have a good feeling. I mean like you know, like the same way you knew what you did yesterday. Like, it's certain. Like, I know for a fact yesterday I went and got something to eat, and because it happened. Like, that's just what happened. I know that's what happened. There's no other story to it. That's what happened. There's no differences. There's no, oh, what ifs or anything. That's just history. And pretty much everything in God's head is supposed to be history. What he says is going to happen, happens. There is no alternatives. So you know they're going to do this, but you still put all the things together for them to do it. Now, to me, that says that is somebody that wants them to eat from that tree. That's only argument that makes sense to me. God wanted you to eat from that tree, and then he put on this fake Willy Wonka, no, stop, don't do it, wait, when he was learning that they ate from the tree of knowledge. For the fact that, like, you created the universe, you know that in this universe you created, these humans are going to eat from this tree. You don't want them to eat from the tree, but you put all the things in place for them to eat from the tree. If God never plants the tree, humans never eat from it. That's the argument. And of course I don't believe this. Some people, when they hear me make arguments like this, they think that I'm actually, like, arguing from a religious standpoint, like, oh, well, if only God did that. No, personally, I don't believe that there is a God. Now, can I be convinced? Yeah, if there's evidence that would prove that God exists, I would be convinced of it. But until that evidence is presented, I am an atheist. So if anybody that happens to think, oh, well, he thinks that God exists, well, that argument is stupid because this, and this. Trust me, you're in a different time zone from where I'm at. Anyway, that's been this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share. This was a bonus video for you guys for today. I was not expecting to do it, and it was the longest one I made today, so this is going to be hell trying to process, but whatever. I enjoyed the video, and I do like to talk about subjects that I don't really have a lot of chances to talk about because most of the people around me are religious, and when I do try to have a discussion, they just tend to not want to talk about it. So this is my way of like getting out there and speaking to people that may think similarly to me, or somebody that actually wants to have a conversation. You know, present your case, and I just ask that if you don't have anything to say about it, just say I don't know. I mean, I say that about everything. Hell, the argument about God itself, is there a God? I don't know. There's no evidence that says there's a God, so I'm going to believe that there's no God until evidence presents itself. Until then, I don't know. But it's likely that it's not. Anyway, that's this video. I'm going to go ahead and move on. I'm the original Renaissance man, Devon DaVinci, signing out and give you the deuces. Peace.